Hi, and welcome to this edition of Meet and Geek. My name is Matt. I am joined, as always, by our good friend Robert from Actiphy. How you doing today, Robert?
I'm doing fine, Matt. How are you doing?
Not as well as I had hoped, because I really wanted
Why?
to spend this episode talking about the domestication of furry rodents.
Furry rodent, would that include squirrels?
Squirrels, possums.
We've been talking about squirrels for a while.
Yeah.
Did you bring that up? Squirrels
Uh-huh.
are cute. A possum gives me the creeps. They're creepy looking. However, if you watched, there was a college game on from
Uh-huh.
the desert last weekend in which they had to stop playing because this beautiful red desert fox was running around the football field in the stadium. And
Can you throw a leash on a fox?
no, not really, because they're free, and that's her
Right.
favorite Disney movie.
What's her favorite Disney movie?
The Fox and the Hound.
The Fox and the Hound.
Yes. But I digress, Matt.
You digress.
Well, I digress. I digress. I digress and I digress.
And
But
yeah.
what is
But
it?
please,
What is
but please
it?
don't
that is-
egress. Please don't egress, because we need to finish this.
Oh, I'm going towards you. I'll go this way. No, what
we can't
what
talk.
is
We
it?
can't talk about furry animals because of
Because
this right here.
what is
Because
that you have? in
I
your
received a press release
hand? A
from
press
Actiphy,
release from Actiphy. Wow.
and well, here I'll just read it.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Actiphy Incorporated, a leading publisher of backup, disaster recovery, and virtualization software, announces the release of ActiveImage Protector 2022, featuring direct-to-cloud backup, in-cloud recovery, and a new agentless and agent-based hybrid licensing option. This new version can now back up and restore directly to and from public cloud services and SFTP servers. With new in-cloud recovery, any backup image can be restored as VMs in the cloud environment. New LTO Tape Support provides high-speed backup of bulk data to high-capacity tape storage solutions to ensure long-term archival stability. Point-in-time file and folder backup, a frequently requested feature, has been included in this release. So,
Wow, I think Matt, that says it all.
well, it says a lot, but I think we need to unpack it.
Okay, well,
Because although I read it, I understood maybe 5%.
and gosh, Matt, that's why I'm here,
That's
to help you
great.
with the other 22%.
Yeah, that adds up. So let's start. Let's start direct to cloud backup.
With
That's the
all
first
of our
bullet
new
point.
features from Actiphy, Active Image Protector 2022, released today.
Released when?
I was going to say today, but somebody may be watching this after today sometime.
Oh, that's right.
So let's just give them a hard and fast date, November 12th of 2021, just in case you're watching this in December.
Okay.
All right. You're late to the
So our
party.
first bullet, the first feature, direct to cloud backup. I thought that we were doing a direct to cloud with Active Image Protector.
Well, we are and we aren't. Well, we're not doing a direct to cloud backup. What we are doing with Active Image Protector 2018, we are performing a backup. However, the backup image file is saved somewhere locally, maybe somewhere off-site in which you have access to. But if you want to get it to the cloud or somewhere else, another cloud service or a secure FTP server somewhere, you can back up directly to it. Previously, we would replicate. So I'm going to use my hands as aids, okay? So you have a backup. It performs the backup, and the backup is saved right here locally. You notice I'm just using the same plane here, and saved here locally. And then what you do when you create this backup, you add an optional task to replicate that backup image to the cloud. Okay. So we have backup, saved backup image file, and replicate it to the cloud. Well, we've just taken a step off. We are performing a backup, and instead of saving it here. We're going to save it directly to the cloud.
Okay.
Removing that step of replication.
Right.
Okay. And never mind. Last time we talked, we talked about some free complimentary add-ons that enhance the functionality, like scheduled replication tasks rather than happening right after the backup's done. But if you're backing up directly to the cloud, you've saved yourself a step. So that's been a demand. And you can also use, let me tell you real quick, just a couple to throw them out there. Amazon S3 and Azure are two of the backup destinations you can use as far as cloud storage is concerned.
Okay.
And we also support, as I said before, secure FTP as a backup destination as well.
Okay, great. So, worst case scenario, my business gets hit by lightning and a meteor at the same time on the same day.
Wow. Was anybody there? Was anybody there?
Well, let's hope not.
Okay.
But let's say my hardware is destroyed. How am I going to recover my information?
I'm glad you asked that question, because if you had performed a direct-to-cloud backup, you've already done half the work or more than half the work. Again, I'm terrible at math. So,
okay.
Yeah, my 22% solution obviously went over real well. Any backup image can be restored directly to a virtual machine within that same cloud. If you have a cloud service for storage, that's great. But if you're going to implement servers up there, to access and work with, well, that there may be a cost incurred in that. However, it's nice to have the option of being able to get online and configure and add the service and then perform a restore onto a virtual machine within that cloud, and then provide access to everyone who has been displaced or their machine's destroyed. They may have to work from home. You've got your server back up and running up in the cloud. And again, you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to understand that, gosh, if I can do that in the event of disaster, what's holding me back from implementing that system now? So you can migrate your physical servers directly to cloud environments via a backup.
All right. Next on our list is LTO Tape Support. I am old enough to remember big reel-to-reel metallic tapes, but I don't think I've seen that in recent years.
Have you ever held a backup tape in your hand?
I have not.
Oh, man, you could probably put it under the rear tire of the Jeep parked in your slanted driveway, and it won't damage the tape. And again, it'll keep it from rolling into the street should the brake fail. LTO is a brand. It's used more across the pond than it is here. However, before we didn't provide direct tape support, backup to tape support, and now we do with LTO. Again, as in the press release, it isolates your backup completely, because you've got to eject the tape when you're done, and then you store it somewhere, and it ensures long-term archival stability. So the best of both worlds.
Right. Okay, next on our list, and we have talked about this before, with ActiveImage Protector, we have done full backups, we've done granular backups, and now I see file backup.
File backup, actual files. This is more kind of I would deem it like as a version control for files that are constantly in a state of flux, whether they be spreadsheets, documents that are constantly being edited by someone else during the course of a workflow. And it's a good idea if you want to go ahead and like you say, put that granular or that very, very high-powered magnifying glass onto a single set of files and folders that are of the utmost importance, are very critical data in order to keep versions that are going to be outside the scope of your full backup, your full baseline or your incremental backups. And what's nice is that this is done the same way as an image backup, sector by sector. So any subsequent backups that are performed, the incremental types, is going to be minimal impact because it's whatever changes within the file as opposed to on the disk. So then you can go ahead and retrieve or restore or just copy back.
Okay.
And recover a single individual file, not just the latest one. You can go back 3-4 versions, a couple of weeks, depending on how long you've had this backup task running for it, scheduled backup task running.
Okay. The next feature, and I am totally lost here because I've seen boot check. We talked about boot environments. This one's called Rescue Boot.
Rescue Boot. Yes.
What is the difference?
Okay. Just to go over, we provide a boot environment builder in ActiveImage Protector. And what that means is that you can create a customized boot environment from a CD or DVD, depending on how much space you need, or a USB stick, or an external hard drive that you connect to the machine as well. And what that provides for you in this boot environment builder is a means to boot up the machine without booting into Windows. And then what you get presented with on the screen is the ActiveImage Protector GUI, slightly modified because it's coming off of this boot environment builder, a boot environment. But it allows you to see your hard drive or any other external drives connected to that particular machine. And what would you use this for? Well, honestly, primarily for that boot environment, it's exceptional to use in the event that you have to do a bare metal restore. Let's just say you had to replace the hard drive and you're thinking, what am I going to do here? Well, you have created a boot disk that is customized for the hardware in the machine with all the drivers included. And you boot off of it and you say, okay, restore this backup file to this hard drive on this machine. And then after it's done, you boot up and voila, you're back up and running based on how recent that backup is. Now, there's another place where you can put this boot environment through the boot environment builder it's called a pre-boot. And that ends up in the boot menu as you boot up. And again, if you're only wanting to boot up into that ActiveImage Protector GUI boot environment, because maybe you really just need to do a copy or add something or duplicate it. Or if you just need to do a backup that's cold rather than while it's running. Okay, so there's a pre-boot environment that goes into the system volume that gives you the option of booting into Windows Server or Windows 10, Windows 11, or into the pre-boot environment. Now, all this is predicated on you downloading something from Microsoft. It's called an ADK. And installing two components of that. And I see that look on your face going, boy, that's sounds like some work. However, these days you're with these laptops and tablets getting slimmer and slimmer, there are no USB ports for a stick or an external drive or anything like that. So when you install ActiveImage Protector 2022, you just go into the dashboard, turn on Rescue Boot, and what it is basically the pre-boot environment in which you will boot into either the ActiveImage Protector GUI or Windows. It's your choice. It'll be on every time. And you can turn it off at will. And it's without having to download anything from Microsoft. It sets it up for you in order to pull things off if you need to. Again, when you're using devices that don't have any type of a USB interface, this Rescue Boot provides the menu option that you would get off the boot environment builder within the machine, the system, in order to run a cold backup or something to that effect. It's just a matter of convenience that implements the ActiveImage Protector boot environment for you by the flick of a switch.
Okay. The next item or the next feature is disk-to-disk copy, and the only thing I could think of was, burning songs from Napster. I mean, downloading songs from iTunes and putting them on a disc.
Wow.
Is that what I'm doing here?
No.
No.
No. Okay. What you're doing is a straight up copy.
Okay.
When you're doing that, you're just copying songs from one disc to another. What a disc-to-disc copy means or meant back in the old days is that you were copying the disc, the entire disc as it is. Disc-to-disc copy, which has been around, is a copy of the disc.
Uh-huh.
Copy of the disc, whatever's first on the disc is the first thing on the new disc. Whatever's last on the disc is the last thing. So it's essentially replicating the disc onto another medium, so to speak.
Right.
But the difference is you can always go out and buy an external USB connected dual disc docking station in which you put a hard drive in, and then you put a hard drive that boots up machines in the other holster or the other dock, and then you press a button and then it does a copy. It makes a replica of it. Okay. Right. And what disc to disc copy does is the same thing. It makes a replica. The difference here, it's not physical disc to physical disc. You can actually target actual volumes within the disc. You can do a disc to disc copy, and it's going to copy it just as it is from the source.
Okay.
That's what disc to disc copy is. Sector by sector.
Sector by sector. Okay. Mm-hmm. Track by track. If you're old,
like me, well, we're you know what? I think maybe you should stop talking about that right
now. The next feature: offline environment activation support.
You, of all people, have experience working in an office environment where you're not allowed to go outside the intranet.
That's right.
That's a step. You had an offline environment that you were working in which you were limited to accessing only the servers that were on the premises and nothing more. You had your own internal email. You couldn't send anything out or come back in. That is a closed environment cut off from the internet. Well, if you want to go and back up the systems within that intranet or that closed network environment, how are you going to get ActiveImage Protector activated? Because you have to go to the internet in order to activate your software. Right. Otherwise, it times out in 30 days. Well, we've come up with what's called an authentication server. It's the Actiphy authentication server.
Uh-huh.
It's a service. You designate a machine that either is like a proxy server or has access to the internet, but doesn't allow anyone to go through it to access the internet. And its sole purpose is to take whatever not serial numbers, but the key codes or the activation codes that are the licenses that are on the machines that have been installed. And it takes them and culls them and goes out and says, hey, are these legit? Can we activate them? And the answer comes back from the big server in the sky. It says, yeah, those are all legit. Go ahead. And it sends out the activation to and activates each one of those instances that are on this closed environment. If you can't do an activation, Actiphy authentication server or service, then we have a means to create a license file that you can get all the pertinent information that'll distribute as well. So, so the agents can be activated even if you're offline. Mm-hmm. So that's a matter of convenience. This is something that's provided.
Okay. The next feature, let me see if I'm pronouncing this correctly. Iscsi?
Yes, you are.
Okay. The Iscsi target server.
Our Iscsi targets is what they're called.
Okay.
And NFS exports, which is network file system exports. These are, I'm not going to get really deep into what these do. Let's just say, for example, they are a means to create a disk temporarily. And what now is ActiveImage Protector takes advantage of both those mechanisms and can apply backup images to those to create what to you is another disk.
Okay.
Of what you backed up. Now, mind you, this is only Temporary, but it makes it nice and flexible because you can create a virtual disk using these, and then you can migrate it, or you can, if you really need to, you have a failed disk, a failed virtual, failed VM, you can take advantage of using an Iscsi target or an NFS export and apply. And I'm just simply putting this out there so people understand, and apply a backup image of the failed drive so that it's up and running and accessible until you figure out exactly what it is you're going to do. But most IT directors out there are going to understand what the Iscsi targets and the NFS exports are.
Okay. There is licensing now, subscriptions available for ActiveImage Protector?
We've had licensing before. However, we now offer subscription licensing, which seems to be the way the software is going now. You pay a monthly fee because, again, how long are you going to keep it? We can shell out X number of dollars and have it installed and then occasionally do updates. But I know there are several big players out there that are now providing subscription-based licensing in which you just pay a monthly fee, take it right out of your debit card or your credit card, and it's automatically paid. And then at some point in time, you may decide that you're not using that software anymore, and it's just a matter of canceling the subscription, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So if it's something that has to do with business, it's probably a better model than paying for it and paying for the maintenance of something. But we now have annual 3-year, 5-year subscription and perpetual licenses as well. So that's it's just new to us. We've always had licensing, but now this is just new to us.
And you also have licensing for the server edition of ActiveImage Protector.
Well, not just license, it's a hybrid license, which means it can do, you can select agent-based or agent-less backup. Now, agent-based, if you're still running physical servers all through your environment, well, then you're going to need a license for each one of those servers. Right.
Yeah.
But if you're running hypervisor servers that host a number of VMs, which are servers in their own right, a mail server, a database server, a user directory server, all within that hypervisor, well, then you can go with the agentless backup, because what happens is that we drop the service on that hypervisor host, which in turn takes care of all the individual machines. So you don't have to install the service or tick off a license for each one of the machines. It's just for the host itself.
All right. When I got to this next bullet point, I got so excited. The Actiphy portal service.
Yes.
Please tell me this is a TARDIS. Please tell me I can finally travel through time.
Sorry to disappoint you, Matt, but no, you can't. It's a portal service. No. And he doesn't even pick up your bags when you arrive at the hotel. It's nothing like that. That's a stretch. I know. Hey, we're trying, folks. We're really trying here. Keep you entertained and informed. The Actiphy portal service primarily targeted. Actually, it's designed mainly for IT resellers and managed service providers. It's those guys that basically work out of an office and then go on the road and manage that small business's infrastructure.
Okay.
Where they can't, maybe they won't afford, it's better to have a contract guy who comes in rather than hiring a full-time guy to take care of their whole IT infrastructure. What this does is that if you're using ActiveImage Protector, you sign up for the portal service, all those licenses that you have provided for as part of your offerings gives you a chance to monitor the success or the failure and generate reports on how often you're doing backups, whether they were successful or not. It's a monitoring tool in order to do that. It's not something you're going to use to manage remotely, but it's good to know that all you have to do is log on through the web and you're able to manage or not manage, you're able to monitor exactly what's going on with all your instances where ActiveImage Protector as a service is installed, or with the agents, so to speak. So it's just a nice handy dandy tool for IT resellers and managed service providers to keep track of what's going on as far as backup is concerned.
Well, so a great thing for the IT directors out there, but for me, who's kind of hoping to make a quantum leap somewhere else, I guess I'm out of luck.
I guess so.
So lastly,
I saw what you did there. I saw what you
you
did.
saw what I did.
Yeah,
there.
I guess
So
so.
Lastly, we have some expanded support for Linux.
Yes. Before we were, I guess, kind of limited to CentOS and the Red Hat distributions.
Mm-hmm.
We're now supporting Ubuntu, which is big time into government and education. LTS, I mean, that's Ubuntu LTS. Debian, and Red Hat still, of course, the latest version is always updating the Red Hat. Rocky Linux, Alma Linux, and Amazon Linux 2 are now included with ActiveImage support from our Linux edition.
Oh, great. All right.
Okay.
So
Wait,
I think what?
No, I got one more thing.
You got one more thing.
Something that you left off, but it probably wasn't good timing, so I'm going to do it now. We have a tagline.
What is it? Let's hear it.
On-prem ActiveImage Protector 2022. On-premise strong, cloud stronger.
Just making it even better.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that says it all.
That's the way to wrap things up.
Okay.
So we're going to post this webcast on the Actiphy website. Where can it be found?
Actiphy.com. And if you're in the U.S., it's going to automatically direct you to the U.S. location.
Great. And how about a social media presence? Social media presence,
you can find it there, or at least a link to it, including this webcast, on both Facebook and Twitter.
Great. And for those IT directors that want to give it a try,
go to the website and click on trials. And you have a drop-down menu there that you can select the products you'd like to download and try. You have a 30-day trial, but we can be flexible if you need more time and you're really evaluating it. And we're always looking for partnerships too.
Excellent. All right. I think that wraps things up for this edition of Meet and Geek. Robert from Actiphy, thank you so much.
And thanks for having me, Matt. And maybe eventually we'll get around to that whole squirrel thing.
We're going to figure out a way to put a leash on a desert fox. I think so.
All right.
All right. So
Thank
until
you.
next time, take care.
Take care.